thought we could try and do something a tiny bit different today. And so I'm going to jump right into more of a drawing right now and see if how you guys do with this. This will just be one page for the homework, okay? But it's going to be a single sketch. And so if you want to stop the video and do like a quick warm-up for yourself before I jump into it, go ahead. Okay, so I'm going to start out with an idea of, I'm going to draw a house and a building and a kind of a landscape, okay? And so I'm going to start out with a foreground house. And I'm essentially drawing a cube. Okay. And this cube, as with any cube I draw, but especially if I'm trying to do something structural around it, I want to check for the things that are possibly amiss, right? I want to be like, the only thing I could really have gone wrong here is my verticals could be out. One of these legs could be a little long. And a really basic house would go like this. If I wanted to just draw like a super basic house, I would could find the center of this, like that, like that. Project upwards. Decide on how steep I want that roof to be. This line, you see this line and that line? This line will tend to the exact same vanishing point. And then this line wants to be parallel with this. And one thing that houses have is that this eave here. Goes a little bit long. You can take this, run across, because I lengthen the one side, I'll lengthen the other. I think that what I want to do is I want to divide the house here. I want to make the lower part, and this is like, I just go from my cube, and because this line tends this way, so these meet at a vanishing point, this one has to work with those, okay? And I want to broaden the house out down here. Being able to find the middle of a space is a really nice way to, it's a really nice way to start to design things like placement of windows. And finding the middle of a space always happens with an X. So I want to say that's the middle of this wall. And what I need of the middle is I need that the far side is smaller. So I'm just going to push it a tiny bit because I don't want to have that go wrong. Okay. I can do this if I want to, so I can pick a measurement on the close side. And here's another technique. If I want to double this space right here, over here in perspective, if I make an X, which gives me the center, and then I pass through the center, now I connect a line from the top left through the center of this next little measuring part to there. And that doubles that space. And I had thought that I'd like to do this, retaining the center. Now from this line, right there, this line goes with this line. This line goes with that line. And then I want to stretch this roof out a little ways to give this dormer an eave. We already know the center of this side. I could find the center of these will help me, making an X. If I do that and this side is smaller than that side, I just move it over a little bit. I realize I've made a mistake and I want to cheat it a little bit towards correct perspective. So the way that I've done this, I think that if I put a window along each of these centers, and notice the windows are in perspective with these lines, as well as with each other. So that's the most important part. And if you get that to begin with, you start out in a good place. Okay, so I want to make the windows skinny. Whatever I do this way, I just want to make, whatever I do on the left side of the center line, I want to make what happens on the right side a little skinnier, okay? And now let's be careful to not let our drawing get too sketchy here. And I want to use this. I'll put a window there too. And we have to make sure that this window is in proportion with the window below it. I want to make 3 windows along this side of the house too. Okay, so here's a center. And I'm going to find a center of this space. And then a center of this space. Okay. And mark the tops of the windows. And I'd like to use the same size window. So I'm just going to carry that line over. And then using this line, transfer. And the way I'm finding my perspective is based on my cube practices. So here's some stuff that I like to include right off. There's a bottom ledge on the window. It's really important. And then the windows go into the house. The windows go into the building. So if I'm seeing this way, I want to show the inside of the building here. And if I'm looking up, you see I'm looking up, I also want to show it there. And these I'm looking up at as well, but not as much as that upper window. And very frequently windows have a board along the top. And it will go in the long direction. It will be long in the direction that I'm looking at it from the other side. Does that make sense? Like I'm looking at it from over here, so this side is long. And over here it will be just the opposite. So I'll do the underside board. See how it's going long in the direction my viewer is standing in the opposite way? Okay. Right in the middle. I'm going to drop that back a little bit and have some overhang. This will drop back a little bit, and that'll give me a little overhang on the eave. If I take this and I turn it into a kind of like a foreground, I can make this feel like a foreground house. I can put things in the background by having them be simpler. You know, they're in the same perspective. If I wanted to make windows in a line, I just have to mark the cube in even increments. And now that we start to establish some distance, it can be really nice. In the foreground, if you wanted to, say, start adding some texture, like say that this bottom part is a stone, and you could just fill this. And you see, you're going to have more detail in the areas that are closer to you, and you can just lessen it as you move off. But establishing an area of detail really close is nice. If you want to do something like drawing little bits of wild grass or something like that, here's a cool trick. If you go right here with some that are about that big, and then you come towards yourself and let them get bigger, and also heavier lines. At a certain point, I could really impose a light direction. So for instance, let's say the light is coming down from above, and I might say like, okay, so the light from above, this would throw a shadow onto the surface of the building like that, and this side, the shadow would be like that. And notice how when I'm shading, I'm just going at an even clip, and slow and steady wins a race. So I want to throw the shadow from this. And I think it'll look good to have this be in shadow. Adding a thickness onto the edge there always helps. Here's a close edge. I want to add a thickness onto it. Just imagining it as a metal rooftop. If you wanted, and you thought it would be cool looking to have this part be made of wood, trying really hard to keep these at a nice even and keeping them in perspective with these lines. Again, I'm going to let my detail be focused towards the front edge of the picture. I'll throw those into shadow. With things like the details, you really want to just go nice and slow. You just really take your time. And it doesn't take a lot of them just to create the effect that you're looking for. Alright, I think that's as far as I want to take this, and I look forward to seeing how you guys do on that.